Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today what I've got for you is another review, and this review is on the Netflix documentary called The Last Dance. Now, in a previous video I did actually say that I was going to watch this and give a review on it. I have now finished it, so here is the review. It's going to be split into two parts. Part 1, which will be episode 1 to episode 5 of the series, and part 2 will be episode 6 to episode 10, and my overall review will be in the next episode as well. So yes, this is part 1. Hopefully you do enjoy. I've had a little break away from the channel. I've had some stuff going on. It's been quite busy. As busy as I can be in lockdown. But I'm now back to making videos. Hopefully back to daily uploads. But let's just get straight into it. And yeah. So what The Last Dance documentary is all about is, for those of you that don't know, Michael Jordan, the basketball player, are basically a documentary about his career in basketball, but also his life during his career. And it mainly focuses on the 1998, I think it is, season with the Chicago Bulls, which was their sort of last season as a collective group. They've been together for a few years, and it was all about their last chance to win the title again. Hence it was called The Last Dance. It was really cleverly made. It's one of the best made sport documentaries for sure, that I think I've ever watched. I'm really looking forward to documentaries very similar to this style for other people, because I'm a big fan of sport. There's lots of other people who I'm really looking forward to hopefully documentaries being made in similar ways. Really clever. Each episode focuses on the story and how things progressed, but also kind of concentrates on one area or one person that helped Michael in his career and going forward. Now, I do just want to quickly say a few disclaimers. I don't claim to be, nor am I, an expert on basketball or that sort of area. But I do feel like I know a little bit, and also I just got to enjoy basketball a fair bit. But certainly this documentary was something that really fascinated me, and I enjoyed it. Big fan of sport and documentaries, and athletes like him are just are such inspirations. So I don't claim to be an expert. These are just my opinions on how I saw him, how I saw the documentary, in my personal opinion. And I also am going to shorten Michael Jordan's name to MJ. So if I say MJ, I'm talking about Michael Jordan, not Michael Jackson. Alright, let's get into it. So as I said, episode 1 to episode 5 in this video, and the rest will be in part 2. So let's get straight into part 1, and the first episode. And loads actually happens in the first episode. It's been a while since I actually watched the first episode, but from what I can remember, a fair bit happens, but not loads. It doesn't really go into any specific fields. It sort of describes Michael Jordan as a person, introduces you to what's going on, what the documentary is going to be about, really. Obviously concentrating on the 1998 season, but obviously his early part of his career as well. It also quite concentrates on the general manager of the Chicago Bulls, with whom this is all about, the Chicago Bulls, because that's who Michael Jordan played for. And it concentrates on the general manager of the first episode, Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause was the general manager for the whole series of the Chicago Bulls, not the owner, but the general manager, who decides trades that the Bulls will do, and other things like that, really. But I just want to say, Jerry Krause, by the way, he upsets a lot of people in the documentary, and throughout throughout the time he was general manager, and the time span the documentary is, he upsets a lot of people by the fact he always puts business before what people think of him, and if he's going to upset people, he doesn't really care. If it means that people aren't going to like him, but the franchise, that the way people perceive the Bulls and how successful they are, if that means he upsets a few people, he doesn't really care. And I think that's it takes a good businessman to be like that. Not everyone's going to like you, but the way that he was run, I have to say, it was really impressive. But he does quite upset quite a few people. Certainly upsets Michael Jordan quite a bit. But one person he does really upset, of course, is, if you've seen it, is Scottie Pippen, who we'll go on to, because it's now episode 2. And so not loads happens in episode 1, but in episode 2, it concentrates a lot more on Scottie Pippen. If you don't know who Scottie Pippen is a brilliant basketball player, and probably quite unlucky to be playing and born into the Michael Jordan era, because if he was about now, or a little bit earlier, or a bit afterwards, he'd probably be classed as if not already, he's probably up there as one of the better players of all time. Not the best, probably not the top 3, maybe not even the top 5, but he's certainly top 10. I think you'd have to say he's top 10, one of the best players of all time. Certainly for what he does. Like the way he assists and just is there for Michael Jordan. And if you need someone to step up in a game, Jordan, because he's tired or whatever, Scottie Pippen just does that. He steps up and he does it when it matters. Does very little wrong. I have to say, does very little wrong, Scottie Pippen, in terms of like how he plays. Like he just plays really well. But yeah, he has a bad reputation, I think, at times, Scottie Pippen, for someone who was great, but not always a team player. I really liked Scottie Pippen, I have to say. Not as much as Michael Jordan, of course. You got to just love Michael Jordan for being Michael Jordan, right? But I have to say, I almost like Scottie Pippen just as much. There's something about him. He's a really cool guy. He's just, I don't know, there's something about him. He's just cool. A bit weird, but I don't know, he's just cool. As I say, he allowed MJ to just be at his best, give him the freedom to play his own game. It was a brilliant decoy a lot of the time as well. And certainly in the last episode, which we'll get on to, has got a really bad back injury and probably shouldn't play, but continues to play just so he's a decoy. But as I said, we'll get on to that in the next episode. But anyway, he does have a moment, sadly, why I think people remember Scottie Pippen not always for the right reasons, where Jerry Krause, basically what is mental is at the time when this is going on, the early 90s, Scottie Pippen is probably the second best player in the league, right? Michael Jordan's probably the best, Scottie Pippen is the second best. But for some weird reason, Scottie Pippen is like the 100 and something highest paid player. Like he's really, really criminally underpaid. And I think it gets to a point one day where people say, like, really, you're getting underpaid massively. There's people in the league who aren't as good as you, anywhere near as good as you, and they're getting paid like double or triple how much you're getting paid. Like that's mad. And I think it clicked in his head that actually, am I valued as much as I should be? And obviously, you don't play basketball for ages. Like there's quite a short career in basketball. It's not the longest of careers in basketball at all. And you've got to think, it's like football, it's like a lot of sports. You need to cash in when you can sometimes because it allows you to, pay for pay your way in life and actually have money for your family and for your future. Because once your career's over, if you don't earn as much anymore and you haven't earned as much as you maybe should have, like Scottie Pippen probably was, that money won't last forever. Michael Jordan's got money for days. Scottie Pippen didn't really have that. So I think it clicked in his head one day that actually I need to be valued a bit more. And basically has a slight, I think it's a knee or a leg injury, and basically decides, like a foot injury or something, and he decides, actually I'm just going to, he could have had it in the pre-season and like the off-season, itchy eye, there we are, in between the last season and this season. He could have quite easily had his foot surgery. I think on the last games of the previous season, his foot started hurting. Could have had the surgery really easily. He had a problem with his foot. I think it was his foot. And he very easily could have had that surgery in the off-season, come back, trained, and been straight into the season. But he didn't have that. He rested in the off-season, waited for a few games into the season, and then decided to sort of spite the team, really. I think he was underpaid. Jerry Krause wasn't willing to give him more money at the time. He actually said, well, I'm going to go and have the surgery now then and leave you in the middle of the season without their best player, or the second best player. And obviously, I think you very quickly realise that that's probably quite a selfish move to do, But I completely see from both sides of the table. He wanted to get paid more. They weren't going to do it, so he went, well, if you're not going to pay me, well, I'm not going to play then. That's it, fine. I'm going to have my surgery. Came back from the surgery and then refused to play. He said, I'll never play for the Chicago Bulls ever again. You'll never see me in the Chicago Bulls jersey, which is mad. Which is mad that he come out and said that. But he did. He didn't care. Spoiler, he does play for the Chicago Bulls again. So yeah, I can see people think he's probably a bit selfish. He's actually come out since the documentary's been released and said that he didn't like the way he was portrayed in the documentary and thought it was unfair. But fair enough. Not to ramble too much. I feel like I've rambled quite a lot. Like almost 10 minutes into it, and I've only done 2 episodes, which is why this is into a part 1 and part 2, because otherwise we'd be here for ages. But episode 3, concentrated on Dennis Rodman, who was another player for the Chicago Bulls, very important. Earlier on in the 90s, Dennis Rodman actually didn't play for the Chicago Bulls, he played for someone else. A team I'm pretty sure that they came up against in the playoffs or the finals, and was very good against the Chicago Bulls. But anyway, they ended up signing Dennis Rodman, who is a defensive player. He gets for the rebounds and defense and sort of interceptions and tackles and things like that, really. That's sort of more Dennis Rodman's area. Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan were more about scoring points, assists and things like that. Dennis Rodman was defensive. He was rebounds, both offensive and defensive baskets. But yeah, that was just how Dennis Rodman was. But yeah, I think like he's just the best at what he does. Like the defensive, in terms of defensive players, he's just the best at what he does. You know, he is so clinical at stopping shots, rebounds. He's just the best around for things like that, and he really just helped the Bulls win. Without him, you know, he's a really important cog in that machine, and without him, the Bulls just really struggle. The only problem though with Dennis Rodman is he creates a lot of controversy off the court, meaning he is going to parties, missing training, drugs, alcohol, women. He actually dates Madonna at one point, which I think is mad. And he's just outlandish the way he speaks, the way he is. He just doesn't care. His clothes, his hair, yeah, it's always like coloured and like patterns and stuff, and it's just mad. But while this is happening, by the way, there's also the Bulls are in the playoffs, I believe, against the Pistons, and are really struggling to beat the Pistons. They should have beaten the Pistons a lot easier, but the Pistons were really like a tough and physical team. The Bulls really struggling against them, and they were dragging out the series, and I think it went to a 6th or 7th game. But yeah, into episode 4. So episode 4 is about the coach for the Chicago Bulls for most of the time. The earlier part of the 90s and the late 80s, early 90s is a different coach. But the main coach throughout the series you see for the Bulls is a man called Phil Jackson. Now, if you know basketball or you know of Phil Jackson, you'll know he's probably one of the best coaches of all time. This certainly has to be up there. The way the man is tactics, the way his tactics, how he sets them up, brilliant. There are very few, I think, that know basketball as well as Phil Jackson. But not just that, the way he's the way he man manages a lot of the people for the team, like Michael Jordan, like certainly for a Scottie Pippen, but certainly a Dennis Rodman. You know, the way he allows Rodman to like go off to parties and do his own thing and have the freedom. And he says throughout, Phil knew that I had to do my own thing in order to get the best out of me on the court. If he was really strict on Dennis Rodman and didn't let him go to these parties and be himself and wear the things he says, or wear the things he wears, say the things he says, these things, he wouldn't have been the player he was on the court. And that's just, I think that the man's management of Phil Jackson, combined with the tactic and his knowledge and how he just was, it's just brilliant. And what I love for it as well is Michael Jordan has to be up there as one of the best, his best basketball player of all time has to be, but also one of the best sportsmen of all time and athletes of all time. But what I love about this documentary is you see that people give Michael Jordan little nuggets of information, little bits and bobs that you think, wow, that really built him to be the player and the man he was, which is great. And he was obviously a brilliant player in the early 90s. Michael Jordan, but Phil Jackson came in and said to him straight away, he said, you're great, but you need to learn it's about the team as well as you, which I thought was it's quite an obvious thing to say, but to say that to the best basketball player at the time, it's like walking up to Ronaldo or Messi and being like, yeah, you should pass the ball a bit more. Who are you to tell me, the best, that I should pass the ball more and be more of a team player when I can do it sometimes on my own and I'm the best on this pitch or the court or whatever in sport? You just wouldn't do it. It takes a bold person to do that. But Michael Jordan, being the person he is, took that on board and just took his game to the next level. But yeah, brilliant. And as I said in the episode 3 with the Dennis Rodman episode, the Bulls are struggling to beat the Pistons. In this episode, in episode 4, not to give any spoilers. Usually I don't really do spoilers because I want you to watch it yourself. But they do actually end up beating the Pistons in episode 4. And either going to the finals or is that when they win the championship? I should check this, but yeah, they win. They beat the Pistons anyway, and I think that means they go to either the conference finals or the grand finals. But I can't remember. You'll have to watch it and find out. The last episode then is episode 5 of this episode, if that makes sense. We did 1 to 5 in this one, and as I said, 6 to 10, and the overall in the next one. But yeah, so part 5 in this one was not about anyone specifically. It's more back to Michael Jordan and about him creating the Air Jordan company brand. Growing up, he was a big fan of Adidas. He didn't really like Nike. He was more of an Adidas person himself. So when he got offered an interview to go to Nike and have maybe an endorsement with them, he actually wasn't going to go. He said, I don't want to go. I'm more of an Adidas person. I don't want to go with them. And his mum said, no, they've offered you it out of just respect and being polite. She said, you will go to that interview and you will give them time and you'll give them patience and you'll show them that, you know, if you walk out there and go, actually, I don't think it's for me, that's fine. But she said, you at least go and you at least find out what they have to say. Which I thought was a really interesting thing. Yet again, his mum saying to like this big athlete, I know it's his mum, but that's not the point. No, you will go. He could have turned around and go, no, I won't. But he went, no. That's how he was raised, you know, respectful and being kind, and that's just giving people time, giving the time of day, you know. He didn't have to do it, but yeah, it ended up obviously signing with Nike, and yes, at the time Converse were actually the official shoe brand of the NBA. I know that also quite a big brand at the time, I think, was it Reebok? I could be making up, or Puma. But in the end, Nike became the big shoe brand at the time, and obviously Air Jordans have come about and are still actually going today, which is mad. But such a big brand, nice shoes as well. So he creates Air Jordan, and this is really where they sort of concentrate on being a big icon. There's a big trend to be like Mike, where everyone's saying, I don't really know what it is, but everyone's just saying like be like Mike. Everyone wants to be like him. And I think it's highlighting the fact that he was so big, everyone just wanted to be him, everyone wanted to live his life. And he said, trust me, you really don't want to live the life of Michael Jordan. And I think I'd probably have to completely agree. I don't think living the life of Michael Jordan is as exciting, as nice as people probably thought it was or is. You know, you've got cameras in your face 24/7. You can't go out the house without people taking photos, asking you questions. They don't give you the time of day. You can't go to shops. You can't do anything. You know, he's going for a round of golf. He's putting bets on with his friends, and he's just got so much going on. And it sort of gets to the point where you think it must be really suffocating for people like Michael Jordan living life, and people just won't leave him be. So I can't imagine being like Mike. I don't know if you really want to be like Mike. People want to be like him on the court, off the court. I don't think it's that actually probably as fun as people think. In this episode as well, they also concentrate on the Olympic Dream Team. It was called Dream Team. Because for the first time ever, usually the Olympics had basketball in it, but America would also always just put sort of like the rookies or lesser players in it, because they didn't want the big players to not play in the NBA or get injured or whatever, you know, things like that. So it was always the smaller players got sent, or the rookies, the less important people really that were important for the franchise of the NBA. But yeah, for the first time ever, they actually picked their best players, and Michael Jordan was involved, Scottie Pippen was involved, Magic Johnson was involved, I think Larry Bird was involved, lots of players like that. And they had a brilliant dream team, like a really scary team. And they came up against Croatia, where Kukoc, who ended up playing for the Bulls, really interesting story. A lot of the Bulls players obviously didn't like Jerry Krause, who was the general manager, and Jerry Krause was a big fan of Kukoc, who was a Croatian basketball player. So despite the fact that Jerry Krause liked Kukoc, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan ended up battering Croatia in the group stage. They ended up playing each other in the finals. The two favourite teams played in the finals, and America actually came out on top. As I said, Kukoc actually ended up playing for the Bulls. But another interesting story that they just always, Michael Jordan always found motivation in little things. If someone said something to him, if like the fans said something to him, or the media said something to him, he'd use that as motivation. Sorry, in his head to be the best, to push him to just, you know. And he had a bit of beef with Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah Thomas actually wasn't ended up picked for the Olympic team, which he probably should have been. He was easily good enough to be in the Olympic team, but wasn't because Michael Jordan didn't get on with him, which was really interesting. But to sum up the part 5, it's all about him becoming a global icon, not just in sport, not just in America, but worldwide. Something that we haven't really, at the time, you hadn't really seen anyone, you know, be that big in the 80s and 90s, especially an African American, you know, someone who is from an ethnic background, obviously with everything going on. At the moment, he really brought, you know, people looking at black people and people of other ethnicities to light, and how important people like that really are to society, you know. But we've never seen a global icon like that at that point for a long, long time. Certainly someone that big, certainly someone from basketball. And yeah, it's just a really, really it's amazing to see that if you work that hard, you can become an icon. You can become a really important person, not just in your sport, in your field, wherever you're in, also globally as well, which I think is brilliant. And it should be a really, really big inspiration to anyone who wants to do anything. Just work hard at it, and you'll you know, if you work hard enough and put the work in, you'll get there. But that's my little thing over. Thank you so much for watching this part 1. Part 2 will be out, I think, in 2 days' time. Hopefully, if things go to plan, there will be a Red Dead Redemption video back in between part 1 and part 2. But hopefully, you did enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. I do highly recommend, by the way, you go and watch this documentary if you haven't already. I will see you in a couple of days' time for part 2. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe, it's free. You might as well. Please, can we get to 5 subscribers? I said it in a couple of videos ago. Can we get 5? One person needs to press that subscribe button. One person. That's all I ask. You can get to 5 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. And please comment what other videos you want to see from me as well. What other programs. There's loads of stuff on Netflix at the moment. Plenty of time to watch it. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one. I've said that about 6 times now. Goodbye.